When you think about the most influential foam dart blaster, what do you think of? Do you think of the Nerf Sharpshooter, the very first dart-firing blaster? Do you think of the Nerf Jolt? Do you think of the Nerf Longshot? Or do you think of something like the Nexus Pro? Well, there's one blaster that you might want to consider part of that pantheon of very important blasters, the Xshot Pro Piston Pump. Now, a couple things I want to call attention to before we start looking at the blaster itself, and whether it's worthy of the title of being one of the most influential blasters. And on the box, it's this. It is this seal from Xshot saying that our best blaster ever, Xshot Seal of Excellence. It takes some bravado to put something like that on your box. It means you're very confident about the product. It means that you feel like you have something in your hands that people are going to love, whether or not they are foam dart blaster enthusiasts, or if they're just somebody cruising down the toy aisle and seeing this on the shelf. But what's so special about this? Why is the piston pump from Xshot so important? And to really boil it down as to what makes this blaster special, it's how it fires things. It is what is known as an AEB, or an automatic electronic blaster. So it takes the electronics of a flywheel-based blaster and it marries them with the mechanics of a spring-powered blaster, essentially creating a hybrid of the two, meaning that you're not going to have to be manually priming this to get spring-powered performance. And as impressive as that sounds, this really isn't the first time we've seen blasters like this. In fact, one of the first mass market versions of this was the Nerf Stampede. You also have things like the Nerf Vulcan. And above me, right there, is the Nerf Limited Needler from the Halo collaboration. That works on the same principle. You just press down the trigger and the darts will fly, using the same type of performance, the same type of accuracy that you would expect to see from a spring-powered blaster. It's a really cool technology. The reason we don't typically see them is because it's more expensive. You're putting electronics and springs together when going one direction or another usually is the better option cost-wise. And the trajectory of foam dart blasters is that we've seen a more focus on performance. We've seen more pro-level blasters, more 14 and up blasters being produced. And while we've seen incremental improvements in full-length dart blasters, when we get to the half-length dart space, performance is really just ramping up further and further. And all companies at this point have dabbled in that market. But now, this blaster is looking to redefine the performance-based category once again. This is the Xshot Pro Piston Pump. When you get the blaster out of the box, this is what it looks like. You'll notice a couple things. One, there is this device sitting at the end of the barrel, and the barrel itself is just an exposed aluminum tube. The rest of the blaster is very compact, and it's going to take a little bit, just a tiny little bit of setup so that this blaster is ready to go. One, you'll need to put the battery in the stock of the blaster. So if you're looking to recharge it, it's right here. In fact, I'll show you exactly how this works. You just lift that part off, and then you were to charge it, snap it back in, you're ready to go. You've got some iron sights that you can slot on the Picatinny on top, and then you have to put in the barrel. If you try to use this blaster without the barrel, it is not going to be a good time. You're going to wonder what is happening with your darts. You need to put the barrel on it. And then to finish off the look, you put on this B-car, a bearing scar that in theory allows the dart to spin as it goes through, providing more accuracy. This is a buffer tube on the back. This isn't going to have an end strike stock attachment point. And the reason for that is because all of the electronics feed through the buffer tube. This is something that we see in similar industries like airsoft. So while it's foreign to the blaster space, or at least to me in the blaster space, this is not an unheard of concept. It does provide great range of motion. However, because there is a screw, a threaded screw that this sits on, I've noticed that this is like a little wobbly back and forth. So I just kind of have to tighten it up every once in a while. But it gives you good shouldering range. And if I wanted to, I can squeeze it down so that it's a more compact blaster. The other thing too is that it has this jam door. And you'll notice right here that it's got this screw post that originally comes threaded fully in. So when you undo the screw, the door will flop down so that you can access any sort of jams to get darts going. I'm curious as to why that threaded screw post is in there. I'm wondering if it has anything to do with how powerful this blaster is, so that when the spring slams forward, it could unlatch the jam door. So already you're getting a blaster that's going to require a little more attention. If you're somewhat more of a casual fan of foam dart blasters, this one might not be the one to get right off the jump, even though it is, I'll give you a little spoiler ahead, it is a very good blaster. Now in total, this blaster, and I got this information directly from Xshot, is going to be about 90 United States dollars on store shelves. Originally we thought this was going to be around a $60 or $70 blaster, but maybe in light of recent events, all the tariff situations and toys manufactured in China, increase could be a result of that. I'm not quite exactly sure on that. When you get the blaster all assembled, you have to put some darts in your magazine. Now this is a 15-round magazine. It is very similar to the one that I saw in the Fury X, the difference here being that it has a little extra bit of plastic at the bottom of it. So in terms of the magazine, you can use Talons, you can use Dart Zone katanas, things like that. It allows you to use any sort of half-length dart magazine that you might have. The testing that I've done with this blaster, Talons work the best, but if you have other styles, other varieties, those will work too. The plastic on the magazine doesn't feel the sturdiest. It's solid, it's good, but when we're talking about other magazines that I've experienced, played with, and used, this one is on the lower end. Now that we talked about the magazine as well as the price of this blaster, we're going to put a couple darts in here just so that we can get an idea of what this is like. What to do is I'm going to have to take this off safety, and this is a really cool feature of the piston pump, is that it has select fire. So not only is this a spring-powered electronic blaster, an AEB, I can either use a single fire or I can go full auto. So let's go single fire for now. The blaster is ready to go. Let's fire a dart out of this thing. There we go. So it's going to take one click to get it all into position, and then the next click is going to fire the dart. A lot of that has to do with how this blaster operates, how it has to put one of the darts in the chamber so that it can fire out reliably. This is going to be up on startup or when you switch magazines, and when we switch magazines, I'll show you how this thing kind of works as well. So we got another dart and one final one. As you might have heard, it feels really good. There is a good physical feedback when you press the trigger on this and the darts start flying. It's unlike anything that you've experienced with a flywheel blaster. It's also unlike anything you might have experienced with a spring-powered blaster because it is combining, it's converging those two technologies in one. We haven't had a performance blaster like this created. Even though the technology exists, it hasn't been put to this high power yet, or at least from a manufactured product standpoint. Now I need to get some more darts. We're gonna click this up into full auto mode and see what that's like. I've got some darts over here. I've got some more darts down here. Like I mentioned earlier, you can use a bunch of magazines in this. Katanas, Talons, whatever specific style of magazine, half-length dart magazine, can go in here. You will not use full-length darts. This is only designed for half-length darts, so if you think you're gonna use full-length darts in it, don't. So now that we've got this loaded up, I've got my full auto going, and I'm gonna hit the charging handle here so that I can put the first dart in the chamber. So there we go. And now we're just gonna squeeze the trigger and let the darts fly. And that's it. It took about a second to get through all of those darts. It feels so good. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take this, play with it some more, and I'll give you some of my final thoughts, because not only is this a blaster that we're going to evaluate, but it's also, I think, indicative of future blasters like this, if it's viable, if it's sustainable, and what this could possibly do better for future follow-ups. So I've spent more time with this blaster, and I've really gotten a feel for it. Here's a couple things that I noticed. This B car on here, it didn't really serve me well. And I tried this blaster with this B car without it, and then I also grabbed the Nexus Pro X B car, which has the insert that you can remove that it will fit on this barrel. And through my testing, this thing actually gave me less accuracy. So either going without the B car or using the Dart Zone Nexus Pro X B car was a better result than the one that came stock in this blaster. If I shake this next to the microphone, you can hear that there's a lot of play in the bearing wheels, and maybe that has something to do with it. I'm by no means an expert on this. I just know that I was being more accurate with just the plain stock barrel or the other B car option. And the other consideration that I noticed that I treated this one differently than some other performance blasters was because the metal barrel is mostly exposed. It was something that I was a little more considerate of. It was something I was a little more worried about when I was swinging this around because I didn't want to hit it on anything or anyone. If Xshot is to make more versions of this, and again, I wholeheartedly hope they do, I would like to see something with a barrel shroud over this so that it feels like there's something cushioning it slightly more so that this barrel isn't as exposed. The blaster itself feels powerful. The physical feedback that you get from holding down the trigger on a full auto setting is phenomenal. Performance is great. The darts fly, and you can have that manual control over firing a single dart at a time or just unloading the entire magazine. You don't have to worry about batteries. It's all contained in the stock of this blaster. It's rechargeable. It has every single thing that you could possibly want in a blaster like this, and at $90 for all the technology, for all the style. Because again, Xshot has been doing amazing things with their skins design, and I really like the direction that they're going with their Pro blasters. The aqua, the pink, the electric blue around the Xshot logo. It all lends itself really well to an eye-catching design. And because they are, I think, the best pioneers in this space, all of the other little nooks and crannies have these details on them as well. Nothing feels like it got missed. And not only that, it also gives you like an idea of what to expect with the blaster. Here it says motorized. Down here it says high speed. Right here, they just printed this on. It's jammed door. This is not a sticker. This is just what it says. So much is working in the design's favor. It's incredible. So to answer the question of does this stack up to a lot of other blasters, the answer is an absolute resounding yes. Xshot is definitely in the pro blaster game. Even though it took them a little bit to get started, they are clearly out there pioneering. They're out there as a front runner, trying new things and coming in at an amazing price point for the quality. There's a lot of sturdiness. There's a lot of heft to this thing because I'm guessing there has to be quite a bit of metal internals. I'm not one to kind of pull apart the blaster quite yet, but I'm guessing there is going to be a considerable amount of metal pieces in here that allows this to work reliably at high speeds, which is why we're probably seeing this come in at $90, which is a price point you typically don't see an Xshot blaster at. I could talk at length about this blaster for a long time without taking a breath, singing its praises. But there is room for improvements for a Piston Pump 2 or whatever they decide to call the next version of this. So if you're ready to take a step in the direction of pro performance level foam dart blasters, the Xshot Piston Pump AEB should be at the top of your list of a blaster to consider because it has everything that you could possibly want in one package. Is it the most expensive Xshot blaster to date? Yes, but I think every indication of how well this performs, how fun it is to use, the different pieces and bits that make it unique and different, make that price point worth the value. So if you have any questions about the Xshot Pro Piston Pump AEB, please leave it in the comment section. I would love to answer questions about this because this blaster is going to be releasing sometime in June. So it should be available on store shelves around June. It's coming up, but right now, a few select people have these, and I want to put as much information out there as possible. And if you like our discussion on blasters, well, here in the Ri-Fi channel, we don't only talk about blasters, we talk about action figures, pop culture, collectibles, anything action related. And if you hit that subscribe button, you can get more videos talking about blasters like this, as well as a lot of other cool stuff. Or at least I think it's cool. And if you watched to this point of the video, I know you think it's cool as well. So that's all I know about the Xshot Pro Piston Pump AEB. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.